Teaching comprehension. Skill Builders is the Ziptails area devoted to teaching major literacy skills. It can be found by going to the Extending Literacy Library. Skill Builders offers explicit teaching on how to understand and use grammar, punctuation, spelling, and the major comprehension types. The Comprehension suite covers the main forms of text: factual texts, narratives, argument, and visual texts. In the lesson on facts, children are immediately given a factual text to read, the true story behind the famous novel Frankenstein. Having demonstrated in a live example what sort of text we are investigating, the lesson breaks down the comprehension challenge into 6 simple questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. The Frankenstein example is then broken down using these key questions by way of illustration. To reinforce the main ideas of the lesson, another text about the history of English is offered for in-class analysis. Narrative writing likewise begins with a live example, a retelling of the famous story of Portia from The Merchant of Venice. Analysing the text, the lesson makes the point that all stories come down to just 3 key ideas. People, the characters, have a problem, which leads to what we call the plot. The story of Portia and her suitors is used to explicate or cross-reference these narrative keys. The lesson then moves on to a second full narrative sample, a thriller story called The House on the Corner. The lesson on argument starts with an example: girls are better than boys. This argument is meant to be confronting and to expose the issues of false logic. There follows a set of more typical topics: global warming is endangering the planet, too much fatty food is bad for the health, bullying is bad, books are no longer necessary. The lesson breaks down the key components of argument into the contention and the underlying or supporting reasons. 2 other things are mentioned: the rebuttal and the use of persuasive language, with examples. The lesson ends with a full-length argument laid out for class analysis and one last example for discussion: bullying. The lesson on visual literacy begins with 3 examples: a cartoon, a timeline, and an advertisement. The point is made that our visual sense is the dominant one. How to read a cartoon? The lesson breaks down the components of a cartoon one by one. This is followed by analysis of a picture used persuasively. And finally, there is a careful review of diagrams, tables, maps, and advertisements.